Welcome to Mind and Meaning. Today we're exploring the life of Vincent van Gogh, not just as an artist, but as a case study in the intersection of psychological suffering and philosophical meaning. Joining me are Dr. Anya Sharma and Professor Julian Vance.
Thank you. It's vital we start by deconstructing the mad genius myth. From a clinical perspective, Vincent's life wasn't a romantic tragedy. It was a series of untreated, escalating crises that eventually became unbearable. We often romanticize the suffering, but for him, it was a daily battle with emotional dysregulation and a profound lack of stability.
I agree, Anya, but we shouldn't swing too far the other way. While his suffering was real and agonizing, his response to it was a profound philosophical act. He chose to create in the face of a world that offered him no recognition.
That choice, though, was rooted in a very specific psychological profile. Even as a child, he showed intense sensitivity and a sense of alienation. Being named after a stillborn brother, the replacement child syndrome, is a heavy weight to carry. It creates a lifelong struggle with identity and the feeling that one must justify their very existence to earn their place in the family.
It's the ultimate existential starting point, isn't it? To be born into the shadow of a ghost. It forced him to ask, "Why am I here?" His early religious zeal was a desperate attempt to find an answer through moral absolutism.
And that moral absolutism is a double-edged sword. In the Bornage, he lived in extreme poverty to emulate Christ. But when the church dismissed him for being too extreme, it wasn't just a job loss, it was an identity collapse.
That collapse is where the philosophy gets interesting. He didn't give up on the sacred, he just moved it. Art became his new liturgy. He replaced the pulpit with the easel, and painting became a form of moral labor.
But look at the cost. By age 27, he's fully committed to art, but he's also establishing a pattern of obsessive productivity and severe self-criticism. He's using art to regulate emotions that are fundamentally dysregulated.
Is it regulation or transformation? He was a tragic hero in the classical sense. High moral intent but a fatal inner conflict. He wanted to serve humanity through his art, even if humanity didn't want his service yet.
The service aspect is key. He moved to Paris and was overstimulated by the Impressionists. The shift to brighter colors wasn't just artistic, it was a psychological overload. The absinthe and the conflict with peers only fueled the fire.
Yet that overload led to Alls, the studio of the South. He was seeking community, a philosophical ideal of shared creation. But his dependency on Gauguin was so intense it was bound to fracture.
It was a textbook case of attachment insecurity. When Gauguin threatened to leave, Vincent's world fell apart. The ear incident wasn't just madness, it was a catastrophic breakdown of a man who couldn't handle abandonment.
And yet, in the aftermath, in the asylum at Saint Remy, he produces Starry Night. Philosophically, this is the triumph of the spirit. He's finding rhythm and order in the turbulence of his own mind.
I have to push back there, Julian. Starry Night is beautiful, but it's also a record of episodic psychosis. We see the rhythmic, turbulent forms as a reflection of his internal state. He was painting through the pain, not because of it.
That's a crucial distinction. He wasn't a genius because he was ill. He was a genius who happened to be ill. His discipline, painting 70 works in 70 days at the end, is what we should be admiring, not the suffering itself.
But that discipline was also a symptom. It was perseveration, an obsessive need to produce to prove his worth. He was terrified of being a burden to Theo. The productivity was a shield against worthlessness.
If the shield fails, what's left? He sold one painting, one, in his entire life. Philosophically, how does one maintain a sense of meaning when the world provides zero external validation?
Most people can't. That's why Theo was so vital. Theo provided the only mirror in which Vincent could see himself as anything other than a failure. When that mirror felt too heavy to hold, Vincent broke.
This brings us to the temporal injustice of his life. Today he's a titan. Then he was a nuisance. Does the posthumous recognition retroactively make his life successful?
From a psychological standpoint, no. Success is felt in the present. Posthumous fame doesn't heal the man who shot himself in the chest because he felt like a burden. It's a tragedy of timing.
I disagree slightly. Meaning isn't just about the individual's feelings. It's about the impact of the life. His fidelity to his calling, even in total obscurity, is a testament to the dignity of honest labor.
But at what cost? He died at 37. We have to ask, if he had been less devoted, if he had practiced more self-compassion, could he have lived a longer, perhaps less meaningful but more bearable life?
That's the existential trade-off. Camus talked about the absurd, the conflict between our search for meaning and the silent universe. Vincent didn't accept the silence. He painted over it.
And in doing so, he left us a warning. Devotion without self-care is a path to destruction. We see his life as a masterpiece, but he lived it as a series of failures. We must bridge that gap.
So, the synthesis is this: a life can be profoundly meaningful and still be unbearable. Meaning is not the same as happiness. Vincent proved that you can change the world while being crushed by it.
And the psychological lesson is that we need systems of support that go beyond just one person. Theo was a hero, but Vincent needed a community that understood his specific brand of suffering.
He sought that community in alls and failed, but he found it in us a century later. We are the studio of the South he never had. We are the witnesses to his fidelity.
It's a beautiful thought, Julian, but let's not forget the man in the field in Auvers. He wasn't thinking about us. He was thinking about the burden he felt he had become. We owe it to him to see the human, not just the icon.
Agreed. To see the human is to acknowledge both the illness and the agency. He wasn't just a victim of his mind. He was the architect of his legacy, even if he didn't live to see the building.
Well said. His life teaches us that recognition isn't proof of worth, but the lack of it is a weight few can carry alone. We need to be better at recognizing the Vincents in our own time.
And to remember that honest labor, done with moral intensity, has a value that transcends the market. Whether it's a canvas or a conversation, the act of creation is a victory.
A victory, yes, but one that requires us to look after the creator as much as the creation. Thank you for this, Julian. It's been a deep dive into a very dark but very bright life.
Thank you, Anya. It's rare to find such a perfect intersection of our two fields. Vincent remains the ultimate subject for anyone interested in what it means to be human. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. A life of excess devotion, a warning against romanticizing pain, and a testament to the dignity of labor. Join us next time on Mind and Meaning. Mind and Meaning is produced by Manus AI. Thank you for listening.